What's going on, brothers? So I'm out here for a drive, so you might hear a little bit of road noise. I'm coming down with a cold, probably AIDS or syphilis. Nah, I'm just joking. So when I normally come down with the flu, or I'm coming down with the flu or a cold, I got this weird thing where I like to go for a drive. So I'm driving. I got my hot chocolate. And, I'm just talking. So normally I just listen to music and I relax, just to calm my body and my spirits. So anyway, on this one, what I want to talk about is something that me and my friends talk about, and we delve into it quite often, So this is regarding that moment, that fateful moment when Adam and Eve bit into the apple, right? Now, when I say that, I don't mean literally, right? Like, I'm not saying that Adam and Eve literally bit into that apple. I mean, I have no idea what happened back there. So, and nobody that wrote the Bible or the story would have any of that information anyway. But if you believe that, that's fine. That's up to you. I'm not here to question people's beliefs. Right? That's not what I'm here for. But the one thing that does. One thing that does interest me about that, right, and what I've always thought about it based on, reading the Bible, based on, like doing actual understandings and just understanding, our natural life and where we're heading to into the future, right? Because I'm investing in those companies that are, attempting to do, to bring the future upon us. And that is the way I always looked at it, is that when Adam and Eve bit into that apple, what that signifies is the moment, right, where nature turned us from animals into what we would call ourselves human beings, where we got consciousness, right? We were suddenly, we are, capable of actually understanding that we're naked, right? Whereas, the wild animals don't. Or that, we can understand murder, right? Because animals murder each other all the time, but they don't understand that that's murder, right? They use the excuse of eating, right? But even though we use the excuse of eating other animals, it's still murder. So we're all very well aware of it, which is why we're very careful to make sure that the animals that we consume, that's why we fight so much, so that way they don't suffer. Unfortunately, the wild animals don't have that ability, and they, to grasp that idea. So, the way I've always looked at it is that exact moment, right? And I've always wondered what that was, like what occurred to transition. It's impossible to, obviously, but it's cool to think, like, what must have happened to transition us from being, just your ordinary ape, to suddenly being self-conscious, to being able to, understand slowly, and then over time our brain is adapting and evolving to be able to, form speech and form writing and words and building tools, and so that's the way I've always looked at it, right? And I've always looked at that as being a bad thing, because, though I think, the worst thing being a human, or being or being a conscious being, right, and being able to actually understand your life is understanding the fact that you're going to die, right? And that's probably one of the worst things in the world, actually understanding the fact that your time on here is limited, which I don't know, it's impossible for us to tell, but I've always wondered, do animals have those sort of understandings, when the animal has, obviously they have instincts, and so do we, but do they have those sort of understandings? And we don't know that, and us as human beings have been fighting so long, for so hard, right? Or I guess so hard for so long, trying to get back to that part, trying to get back to that natural part, right, where we get rid of all of these things, because if you think about it, like, these things are such a burden. Animals, theoretically, like, while it's dangerous, right, they're not as burdened, right? Like, they're not having to go ahead and build houses, skyscrapers, businesses. They're not having to build kingdoms. They're not doing any of that kind of stuff, right? And so for me, it's always been where, like, how do we get there? And, like, what caused us to get out of that position? And so the closest thing that would bring us to there would be, like, going into AI, like getting away from what we would call the flesh, right? Now, we say, like in the Bible, it says God punished us and this and that for the sins. And it is a sin, right? It's a sin, right? So knowledge is, Lucifer gave us the knowledge, because knowledge, well, we all know, like, knowledge is very burdensome. The more you know, the more you feel, the more hate, the more disgust, the more empathy, the more sorrow, the more joy, the more sadness. You get all of these emotions that flood your body as you learn more and more and more, because you become more compassionate, you become more angry, and so you're constantly dealing with all of these emotions, because at the same time, like, you want to hate somebody, you want to fight somebody, but at the same time you feel sorry and you feel empathy and you feel sympathy for individuals and for animals, right? And that those things, like, while they make us human beings and they're valuable to us, they also hold us back as far as having joy, right? Because you're constantly on this you're constantly on this up and down wave that your body is moving on constantly, right? Your mind, your soul, your spirit, and it's heartbreaking. And so one of the things that I'm hoping for, at least in the future, and I don't know if I would ever be alive realistically, right? But the one thing that I really want is to take my brain, take everything about me, upload it into a computer, into a robot, into something, right? And basically just shoot me out into outer space, and like, set a program where I wake up, like 10 billion years from now, I'm someplace, like, to me that would be a dream, right, where I can upload my memory. The other cool thing is, imagine if somehow we could basically, so it's about overriding this so-called human body form, and this I don't know exactly how to put it, but one of the coolest ideas, and the reason that I love the idea of the Neuralink, is, could you imagine, right, that if we can actually connect enough neurons from the brain into a computer, where, think about this, right, where we can actually change places with one another. If I want to go and see South Korea or India or Japan or Russia or Germany or England or Chile or Antarctica, right? Imagine this, right? We can literally just change into somebody's brain. Like, our brains can literally just change, and we can literally sell or rent our bodies and our brains to other people, that they can experience our life. Like, imagine you want to experience being a pilot, but you can go into a pilot's body without ever needing to be an actual pilot, right? Or you want to be a superstar, you want to sing, well, you can sing, right? You give them, $100,000, $200,000, and you take over their body and you're singing, right? You're gonna have their voice, you're gonna have all of that, and you're singing, right? And you wanna see these cool little places around the world, but you don't want to get on an airplane, because obviously we don't want to destroy the planet. Well, now you can just jump from body to body to body, and instead of traveling with an airplane, right? You literally just go into the people's body and you're there, and they can go into your body, or they can go into other people's bodies, right? And then imagine an astronaut. Most of us will never get a chance to go up into space, right? And so imagine you trade places with an actual astronaut, right? And then we go into transhumanism, where you remove your eyes and you put in robotic eyes where you can zoom, right? So you can see further. You can have night vision, so you're not dealing with, all of the stuff that that the human body is constantly dealing with. And that would be like the ultimate dream, at least for me. I would love nothing more in the planet than to have that ability, to experience life in ways that, I don't know, that seem like sci-fi to us. But I think that those days are going to come, right? Because we're already using augmented reality with the Vision Pro, with the Meta glasses, with all of these things, right? And as the technology is getting better and better and better, like for me at least, right? Like I welcome the day where I don't have to be sick, right? I welcome the day where I'm a robot and I can upgrade my arm, I can upgrade my legs, I can upgrade whatever I want, right? Where I don't have to have this need for hunger, or I don't have this need for sleep, for all of these things. Like, I want to get rid of these needs, right? Not even the wants, but these things are needs. Your body will literally fail if it doesn't do it, right? Most people think, well, why would you want to live forever? But I don't have to live forever. I can just power down and I can wake up, 5,000 years from now. No need for money, no need for any of this kind of stuff. At least not in the sense that we live it today. And that's one of the visions that I am investing towards. I invest in companies that are constantly pushing the boundaries, I'm trying to escape this hell that we call humanity, right? To get rid of so many urges that we are burdened with and we have no way of controlling. I want to be a robot so I can go to space and I can travel and I can go see different planets and different galaxies, but I can't do that with my fragile body. I want to go land on the moon without having to worry about, do I have enough oxygen, if I have oxygen. I want to go to Saturn. I want to go to Jupiter. I want to go to other solar systems. But it's not possible unless we first take we take a look at what caused this problem, right? And I mean, while it's a burden, it's also a gift, because without that whatever it was, that spark, I would never be sitting here contemplating and talking about these crazy ideas that will come true at one point. I just don't know if they will come true while I'm alive or not.